Hi guys! Welcome to my 3-step guide to a healthier body and happier mind. In these 3 steps we're going to be looking at planning, we're going to be looking at nutrition, rest and recovery, and we're going to be looking at exercise and the mindset sort of that goes all with that. In this first step I'd like to speak about planning. So when I think about planning, I think about checklists, I think about routine, I think about schedule, I think about exercise and nutrition and obviously planning of that. I think about the goal that's completely set in mind for the planning. And I think about what goes with my schedule and my lifestyle as of such. So the first thing I want to speak about is the checklist. This can be amazing depending on the kind of person that you are. This can also be quite dangerous depending on the kind of person that you are. So I want to speak about why it's amazing for you, and that's if you are goal driven, if you like having checklists, if you like having planned out days, this is incredible for you. I speak about checklists because I'm one of those kind of people. I have checklists in my diary every day. I like to have 2 to 3 things that need to be done in the day. I can tick them off and then I feel like I've earned something in that day, that I've really worked for it. This can be amazing because you feel like you're goal driven, so therefore after that day you've ticked off everything, you really feel like you've done something in that day, and that's great. I've had the exact same thing on the opposite hand, where you've set yourself up sort of for disaster because there's just too much on your checklist, and the quicker you tick things off, the quicker you add them, so you don't really feel like you've ever going to finish in that day, and then you only finish 3 things of the 10 things that you actually had planned. This can be extremely demotivating, so you don't want to set yourself up for disaster, like you feel like you're not doing anything, or that you just feel demotivated because of the fact that nothing's getting done, but in actual fact you're just setting yourself up with probably just a little bit too much to do. So just remember with the checklists, figure out a happy medium between good, too much, and too stressful. So we want to make sure that we're planning ourselves for success, so that at the end of each day you can give yourself that pat on the back and say, well done, I did what I needed to do, and the next day is going to be just as successful. And the next thing I want to talk about is your goal, and that's pretty obvious. Why are we planning? Why are we going through this effort? Why are we doing what we need to do? And it's something that should be really conscious in our minds, but sometimes ends up being one of the last things that we think about. And why are we actually doing all of this? Why are we doing this effort? And we need to keep our goal in mind, in very close proximities of why are we doing this. So just make sure that you keep super conscious of why are we going through this effort, why are we making the effort to stay healthier, be happier, have a good mindset towards all of these things, because the end goal needs to be seen. And we want to obviously set ourselves up for success to make sure that we actually are going towards this final goal. And very often we sort of get stuck in this mindset that something's too hard, so we're going to change it, and then the actual end goal becomes a bit blurred because we'd rather just change things to make it suit our everyday lifestyle as it is now, and we're obviously trying to set ourselves up so that we can finally get to that end goal. So just make sure that that end goal does stay obvious in your mind. If you want to write it down every single day, if you want to keep it on the fridge stuck up, and just remember that you're working towards what you're doing to finally get to that goal. So all this work, all this effort, all this sometimes demotivating, stressful days, it is actually for this really important thing, so keep that in mind. The next thing that I want to speak about is sort of that goes hand in hand, is going a little bit too big too soon, a little bit too fast out the gates. and setting yourself up with a slightly lower maintenance plan. So as much as our final goal might be something big and amazing and like we really want to get there as quickly as possible, sometimes we actually have to work up to those things. So my one day goal is to run a marathon. If we're sort of in that headspace that one day I want to be able to run 21 kilometers, but at the moment we're sort of struggling to run 5 kilometers, we don't want to set ourselves up to go from 0 to 100 super quickly. So if our lifestyles are busy and we do have issues with day-to-day scheduling and management, and we're running around already, you don't want to set yourself up with a time-consuming goal that is just not gonna get there from the get-go. So set yourself up with smaller goals to eventually build up to that massive goal. So I'm gonna start running 5 kilometers consistently, then I'm gonna start running 8, and then I'm going to enter a race for 10 kilometers, and then I'm gonna continue on to 12 kilometers, and eventually you build up that momentum to finally get to that final goal. So that's absolutely fine as well, to make sure that we're setting ourselves up with smaller goals in aid to get to that big goal. It doesn't have to be that we jump straight there immediately. It can be smaller goals, and that goes for any fitness level. If you're doing nothing, I'd rather you do 10 minutes a day than think you have to start out by doing a whole hour session. And then once you're consistent after a few days or weeks, however you are and however relative your exercise and your schedule is, then you can build up to 20 minutes, half an hour, an hour. So it really just makes it easy for you to set yourself up for success, so you don't ever have to feel like I have to be there, otherwise there's no point. There is always a point to moving, there's always a point to making yourself better in some way. Healthy mind, healthy body. Doing something is way better than doing nothing. So that's going a little bit too big too soon, and making sure that you are setting yourself up for success from the get-go, even if it means smaller goals. Consistency is the next one, and that just goes ahead as to just keep doing it, whether it be I'm struggling, I can't go from 10 minutes to 20 minutes of exercise a day, then just keep doing 10 minutes until you finally get to that stage of I can do 20 minutes, it can fit better into my time schedule, rather than stopping. 90% of the goals that are successful is just the guys that didn't stop. Okay, so rather just be a little bit more consistent and slower, rather than rush into something and get tired or get sick or get injured and then have to stop, or obviously just stop because it becomes too hard or demotivating, or you don't feel like you're seeing results fast enough. Rather just be a little bit slower, a little bit more consistent, and stay happy with what you're doing. And make sure again that you're on the right track towards goals, and that end goal that is still very much prevalent and clear on the mind. A little example of that is, say, training at 5 a.m. It's really hard to get up at 5 a.m. I know I speak to a lot of clients, and morning training is just not something that they can do because they'd rather sleep in and things like that, but they complain about not having time in the rest of their day to exercise. And I say it's really hard, I understand, but if it's the best time of your day to train, if your day gets way too messed up too quickly too soon, with meetings and jumbling around throughout the day, rather you try get up and do that 5 a.m. session, and then it's done, and then it's ticked off your box, and it's ticked off for the day. Get that exercise in, and then it gets easier and easier and easier to keep getting up and keep showing up to the gym, or to your run, or whatever you prefer to do. It just makes it so much easier once it's done to have it ticked off your list, and that way it allows you to just stay a little bit more consistent. Just keep going. Another thing that I wanted to speak about was obviously planning, exercise, and nutrition. So obviously the section we're speaking about planning and things that we can plan that makes our life a little bit easier to a happier mind and a healthier body, and obviously planning what you eat and planning when you exercise or what you exercise is a main cause of that. So I like to speak about exercise and nutrition together. Very different mindsets for very different people. I love the exercise part of it. The nutrition part is obviously a massive factor in a healthier body. So it's very much what you put in is what you get out. They do go together though. So if you're wanting to slim down, firm up, the gym helps. The nutrition is obviously the biggest key there. So be sure to stick to the plan, and again that goes right back to that consistency of just keep doing it. The days stay hard, they get hard, but it's all worth it in that end phase. It's totally my jam to do the exercise part, but the nutrition is the hard part. It's the 24/7 exercise. You can be like, yeah, I did my hour, I checked it off my list. 24/7 that nutrition follows you around. So just make sure that you are staying clear with what you wanting to do, what you wanting to eat, and things like that. Unfortunately, with food, it becomes a lot about stress, a lot about moods, a lot about entertainment, and I know a lot of people struggle with, say, cutting out social lives to prepare for this diet. But the problem is that then that doesn't become sustainable. You can't realistically think you're never going to go to a braai again, you're never going to go out to a party, you're never going to go to your kiddie's birthday party and sit there without that cake. It's gonna happen. So you've got to be realistic with your goals as well as your current lifestyle. So just make sure that if it is something, if you have a very extravagant lifestyle, be sure to sort of plan around that. So I'm going to eat really good for 2 to 3 weeks because there's a big birthday party coming up, and I would really like to have that pasta or that pizza that I know I'm going to sit at that restaurant and have. Or if you're someone that isn't fazed by going to restaurants, that's fantastic. Then have your salad at the restaurant, or then substitute for a cocktail or whatever, keeps that drive and keeps that sanity of being able to go out, because realistically you don't want to cut your social life out to have this goal, because you're already setting yourself up for it to not be successful, because you don't want to be cutting the one out and making yourself extremely unhappy just to be able to try get to this goal, because it's not gonna work. So setting yourself up for the nutrition, I'm always pro meal prepping. So if you want to ask me for an easier ticket to nutrition, it's meal prepping. Like, never catch yourself out without healthy snacks, without a healthier choice, going to the shops, and I tend to get caught up in something like that very quickly, and then I catch myself hungry and I'm like, oh, let me just quickly go to the shop. I go to the shop and there's just nothing available that really is quality wise. So nothing that I know is like super healthy, hits all the macros, hits something that I would generally go home and make myself. Or B, then if it sort of is there, it's like, it's not that bad for you, that sounds great, it's just way overpriced. So never catch yourself up trying to go to the shops and try get those substitutes there. You really want to try meal prep, have the snacks on you, have the food on you. That way you're just setting yourself up for success 90% of the time already there, because then you've got your chicken and veg on you, you've got your fruit and yogurt, whatever snacks or whatever foods you really like, they're there on you. I know a lot of people complain because their jobs entail a lot of meetings, a lot of driving around, and I would definitely have a little cooler box or something like that you can bring to the office and grab and go as you run in and run out of meetings. It's way better than going to the shops and grabbing chips and things like that, as far as even time wise is concerned, because that saves you a trip to the shops. It's less expensive, and it's just way better for your end goal. So end goal, wanting to lose weight and things like that, just most shop options just stay clear of, because they're really not great for you. Same thing goes for exercise. Like I said before, in that consistency of like training at 5 a.m, try put in your diary, try get up, try get it done, because that way then it's planned, it's prepped, it's all done for, you've thought about it. When you hit the gym, you know exactly what you're doing, you're not wandering around from exercise to exercise, sort of half doing this effort because you don't really know what you're doing, or you didn't really plan to be there but now you are there, or vice versa, you didn't plan and then you got caught up in a busy day, then you couldn't be there in total in general. And then that goes back to that checklist of like, oh, I couldn't check it off, it makes me feel really bad, it's kind of demotivating because I didn't fulfill my day's goals. One of the next things I want to speak about, and these sort of all start tying in together, so you're going to hear a lot of repetition of routine. It's really, really nice to plan a whole diary, a whole week. I know obviously people have very different schedules, very different times in their days, but it's really nice to have sort of a diary overview of what you're doing, so that work is planned out, dentist appointments, parties, you got to stay late to study, whatever case may be, you've sort of planned out what you've got to do, what you actually have to do. From there onwards, can I start slipping in maybe times to meal prep, maybe times to exercise, maybe I can hit the gym there, but then I can train at home here, or I can go for a run there, and I've got 2 hours here. That'll be a great time to meal prep for 2 or 3 days. It makes the world of difference to just have a general over plan, and it's absolutely fine if things change. I definitely know that life happens, and you need to have that flexibility as well. Otherwise, speaking from experience, you go a little bit insane when days change. I know I was always caught up in meetings that I hadn't planned for, or run out and go see last minute clients that need to change their schedules, and it used to drive me insane because I'm like, it's not going to plan now. I can't, like, how am I supposed to fit all of this in if I've got extra appointments? And you've got to, because work comes first. You've got to pay the bills, and we all need to completely understand that. We obviously want to plan towards our end goal and things like that as well. So be sure to give yourself some flexibility, but also have a good overview of where you're going. So you've got a good general sense of where you're exercising, where are you meal prepping, making sure that you can manage your time effectively. It can definitely help nutrition, like I said, to plan the meal prepping prior, and that way you've always just got something nice and healthy on you. And guys, a lot of people speak about meal prepping as this massive time waster, or something that it's like, oh, I didn't do that now, why must I sit and plan and prep for 2 hours on a Sunday? It makes a big difference for time, actually, because then, like, for example, I plan my meals and I do a lot of my meal prepping, say, on a Sunday afternoon. It saves me up until Monday, Tuesday, possibly even Wednesday, depending on what it is. I don't need to cook dinner. I literally just need to come home and they're sitting in the fridge waiting for me. So someone that's getting home possibly like 8-9 o'clock at night, you still don't want to come home and have to cook this very healthy meal. In the same way, on the opposite side, you definitely don't want to be going to the shops and getting takeaways every day, because there's that unhealthy factor again, super expensive. So meal prepping is really saving you a lot of time. It's really saving you a lot of money, because cooking at home is just always cheaper, and it's saving you on that health factor. You actually know what's going into your products. Buying a takeaway pasta versus making a homemade pasta, you're completely aware of what's going in there. So when people talk about meal prepping being this massive time consuming thing, you can't say that, because you're planning, you have to cook anyway. That's the biggest thing, is that you are cooking anyway. So cook 3 meals instead of 1 when you do actually cook. Make 3 breakfasts instead of 1. That way you're only cooking every second, third day, even fourth, like I said, depending on what it is. I happen to make yogurt and fruit, and I pop it all into a Tupperware, all little Tupperwares, and they sit in my fridge, and I can just grab and go as I like. And I'm cooking on Sunday, and then I'm cooking again on a Wednesday, or whatever that case is, like I said, depending on what it is. So meal prepping saves my life as far as routine is concerned, and it has a massive overall benefit as far as everything else is concerned. So, in conclusion, I've just spoken a lot, but let's just wrap all of that up. Make sure you're doing planning, you're doing all of this for a very specific reason, that you know what the end goal is, you want to get there, you know that when the times get going rough, that you know exactly why you're doing this. You are 100% in for it. You have that momentum, full steam ahead for exactly what that end goal is. So keep that clear in your mind. Time manage, plan ahead, prep, write checklists, keep things in your diary. Routine is super handy for consistency. It's super handy for schedules. It's super handy for planning. So I definitely just encourage all forms of planning ahead. It just saves so much time, it saves so much worry, it handles a lot of stress for you. So really try plan ahead as far as that goal is concerned, and how we're gonna get as much into our day and be as productive as possible with not only work but nutrition and exercise as well. I can't keep over exaggerating consistency. So no matter what, no matter how slow you think you are moving towards the goal, just don't stop. So one little step ahead or half a step ahead is still ahead. So just keep going. It doesn't worry me if a 5-step plan needs to become a 15-step plan. We're still trudging along to stay on track. Exercise, eating healthy, no matter big or small. Like I said, planning those healthy habits for long-term goals. This isn't like a little 3-week diet crash plan. This isn't like a 6-week kill everything and then just go straight back to normal. We're planning long, healthy habits to keep that mind, keep that body healthy. So as much as there is an end goal, we're not just going to stop and go right back to normal. We're going to make sure that we have those long-term plans. So once we've run that marathon, or once we've lost those 10 kilos, we've still got all those super healthy habits that we have built up over this time. And of course, keep yourself in mind. This is about creating long-lasting healthy lifestyles, like I just mentioned before. There's no point in being miserable. There's no point in isolating yourself to try get to this end goal as quickly as possible. So if it means to stay sane, have that cheat meal, go out, have a cocktail, have a good night out, and then get straight back to it. So again, if it means making that goal just a little bit slower, if it means us staying sane, being healthy, being able to get out every now and again, then do that, because that's what we're trying to create at the end. At the end is a healthy, happy lifestyle. So working towards a goal, working towards bettering ourselves, but not in the sense of having to massively change our lifestyle or quit doing things just to try get somewhere, to know that we weren't happy in that process, we never want to do that again, or we definitely don't want to have to eliminate so many things next time. Create healthy goals, long-term plans, and make sure that you're staying sane and you're staying happy and you're looking after yourself in that process. Thank you so much for subscribing, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to watch the next two soon. Have a good day, guys. Bye.